Hi, my name is Mariana, and welcome back to our second episode of Bright Sights. I'm very excited to introduce to you our very special guest, Marty. He's the co-founder, or one of the co-founders, of Industrial Data Labs. And Marty, go ahead and tell us, a little bit more about yourself.
Sure.
And about IDL and what you guys do.
Thank you for having me, Mariana. So Industrial Data Labs, our specialty is untethering companies from costly 50-year-old quoting processes by automating their RFQ process within their existing workflows. So our company has been around for 5 years, but recently have pivoted into a unique type of technology that has taken off within the pipe, valve, and fitting market within the last year.
So Marty, thank you so much for your introduction and for telling us more about what you do with IDL and what they're about. So tell us about your position, at least coming this far with IDL. What's been your journey? Tell us about it. How did you come to be?
The three of us started, so Tig Richardson, our CTO, Aaron, our COO, and myself started this journey 5 years ago. And we started the journey with the purpose of solving a variety of inefficiencies within the procurement process within oil and gas. Our first idea, or our first kind of go-to-market concept, was trying to build the Amazon for oil and gas. In doing our research and looking at a number of other companies who have tried to build that type of technology, particularly in this space, we quickly found that that was not a technology that was in demand in the market, nor would you be able to build a technology where both the end user and the supplier base could hop on fast enough for you to get the flywheel going without running out of money. And so we pivoted into more or less a inventory sharing portal that sat in between we say distribution and manufacturers. And we were lucky enough to find an early adopter called QRC Valves, who helped us build out that technology, introduce it to the marketplace, and really get a better understanding of if that technology had product market fit or not. We launched that platform or portal in January 6, 2020. We did a good job and got quite a number of users in the next 3 months through their distribution partners. We're able to learn more about the distributors, inside sales reps, particularly wants and needs, and then COVID hit. So COVID hit in March. We were all sent home. I believe we were working at the station at the time. I had a 6-month-old baby, so we said, what are we going to do? But we found that particular time being an advantageous time for us. So what we did from there was to continue to build out the technology, continue to learn from our user base. And then I was sitting in my apartment downtown with my wife and 6-month-old child cold calling. And I would cold call and cold call and cold call, and we would set up a number of meetings. We would get straight to the top of organizations, and for one reason or another, the younger inside sales reps or the sales reps wanted the technology, but the presidents and VP of sales just wouldn't pay for it at that time. Then a few months later, negative 37 oil came to be, which was an interesting time for us because we had to consider, well, do we keep pushing this technology when everyone's getting laid off and the inventory is in overabundance versus the demand? But we decided to keep pushing through and see what happened. And before you know it, we were able to be introduced to a gentleman named Simone Brevi at O&B Valves. At that time, the offices were opening up, and we decided to meet in person. And he told us, Marty, I understand what you're trying to do. This problem needs to be solved, but the way in which you're doing it won't work. I've been trying to do it for the last 3 to 4 years. I cannot get any traction in any portal because of the amount or the variety of equipment inside sales reps handle. And then he said, if you were able to automate this technology within our workflows, not only would I buy it, but the entire industry would buy it. And I believe that was on a Thursday in August. And the team and I decided, well, let's think about making another pivot. I think it's been 3 to 4 years at that point. And we talked throughout that entire weekend, and came Monday, we sent Simone a note saying, we'll go ahead and pivot, let's try to build this new technology. And ever since then, it's just taken off.
Oh my gosh, that's a really cool journey. Wow. Wow, from having, your own little family, cold calling, taking these steps that you have no idea where you're going to go.
Yes.
That's amazing, to meeting your early adopter and, starting your journey. That is very cool. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Thank you. So now that you have finally built out IDL with the other co-founders, what are some of IDL's missions, visions, and values?
So our mission is to untether industrial equipment manufacturers and distributors from 50-year-old costly quoting processes by automating their RFQ workflows.
That's excellent. What are some of the values you guys hold?
So we have 3 core values. So 1, we want to provide a link to the future for our customers. 2, we want to build technology that enhances relationships, meaning between distributors and manufacturers, and then eventually distributors and end users. And then 3rd, we want to provide comfort in chaos. Part of the technology that we had not only automates RFQs within existing workflows, but we capture all the data that is flowing through those RFQ channels to provide our customers with unique insights about existing demand and future demand that they wouldn't have elsewhere. And with the economy, and particularly the oil and gas market, being in such chaos right now, we're able to give our CEOs or our customers intelligence to allow them to make better decisions on what to build and then what to build with. So the type of material needed for them to build based off of future demand, whether that be kind of some ESG related categories, hydrogen, etc., or something new that end users are looking for that they wouldn't have known about without the data they're getting from us.
Thank you so much for sharing those values. Those
Sure.
are very cool values. All right, so now moving on to our 3rd question. What inspired you to start up IDL? Why did you want to contribute to your vision? Like what did you see?
I think the inspiration comes from several things. So first, my mom and dad both own their own businesses. So we got to experience them really building businesses from the ground up, but then also utilizing their businesses and their place within the communities that they were in to give back and strengthen community members that may have not have been helped elsewhere. Obviously, I think my wife and my daughter McKinley provides great inspiration. But for the actual professional inspiration, I used to sell outdoor advertising or billboards probably 15 years ago. And the way in which you sell billboards is you had to understand where every billboard was located, where it faced, what size it was, and then if it was available or not. So you can imagine sitting down with the customer and the customer goes, "Hey, Marty, I would like to purchase 5 billboards in Washington, D.C. or Baltimore," which is where I worked at the time. Then I would have to go through an inventory list of 20,000 different billboards to figure out which billboard set 20,000, so 5 of 20,000 were the right fit for a particular customer. So I'd have to take the information, go into an ERP. I would print out on 200 or 300 pages of paper all the billboards, highlight the first filtering process for each one, and then keep narrowing down. So to sell 5 billboards, it used to take 3 days. And through our process of kind of understanding more about the industrial equipment marketplace, it happened to be the exact same process. And you can see the sales members' just pain in their faces when they get an RFQ that's 20 lines. And they're sitting there where it's like, well, I've got these other 500 RFQs to go. This is going to be $20,000, $30,000, $100,000 toward my budget. I need to be the first one to respond back, but it takes me 3 days to get it. I will never get done. And so that's the inspiration. I know exactly how these guys and gals feel when they go through trying to select which inventory they should deliver or who they should go with, etc.
Wow. Yeah, that's a really cool, story, especially from where you started and the problem that that you saw, because I'm pretty sure, with the software that that you guys have created, not only can it solve, like one problem, but it could probably, change so much in the world.
Yes.
That's awesome, and contributing and coming together and just fix something. That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, it takes that 3-day, 3-week process, and we can take it down into 3 seconds. So it basically allows them to do a lot of other things than just sitting behind a computer.
That's incredible.
Yes.
Incredible. What factors have helped you launch IDL as a business?
So I think it's a couple things. So one, family. My wife has been more than supportive of our journey. It's been long, risky. We've sacrificed buying a house. We're renting instead. Even to the size of our family, we want to get a little bit more comfortable before we increase the size. I prefer 17 children. She wants 2, so there's a little negotiation left, but I don't have much time as I'm getting older. The next is our team. So I think our team has been through a lot together. We've grown together. 5 years is a lot of time to be together. So, I started at 36. Now I'm 41. I started single with no girlfriend or any of that insight we're wanting, to married and a child. And the other teammates have done the same thing. So I think us being able to grow together, even though we may have disagreements from time to time, has been imperative in us developing the right technology for the industry that we're in. And then I think the third thing is a group of people. So people like yourself and Wes, really getting inside of our business to understand not only what we're trying to build, but how we can grow together as a team and get that North Star that all 3 of us can look to go in the market. We've had extraordinary mentors along the way, from Simone Brevi at OMB Valves, to Rob Raban at Industrial Valco, to Jesse Jones, Thomas Harris, Stephen Adcock at QRC Valves. And then there's been a number that we're talking to now that are slowly but surely becoming our mentors to help develop this technology. I don't think this technology can be built from a team of 3. It's going to be a whole, I guess you'd say, suite of people, right? From the family to us learning and growing together. So we're totally different people than I think we were 5 years ago, to the industry partners and mentors we've been able to develop, along with special companies like you guys have that can help us really grow and understand who we are.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that insider and those factors. So now moving on to our 5th question. Now, having discovered your early adopter, how do you think that has helped IDL?
So that's a good question. So if you look at before we discovered our early adopter, we're looking at a marketplace of 20,000, 40,000, 50,000 types of companies from all over the world. In not really understanding how to narrow that down to attack, especially with the types of clients and people that we need to build this technology in such a way that it can scale. After kind of getting a really detailed or in-depth understanding of our early adopter, we can quickly identify, even if a customer wants to come on as a client, to say that maybe this is not a good fit for you now, and find those that, one, want this technology, can see it be used from a strategic standpoint, both at a high level and day to day, but also those who are open and willing to build this technology because they can see the before and after of not only their business, but our business, and how we can achieve certain goals together.
Thanks for sharing that insight. A lot of people don't even know that they have early adopters or what they are. So, highlighting the difference that it's made for you guys, just, it really impacts, those that are listening to really want to go out and search, for their mavens, their champion customers, the early adopter. What is one of the most difficult challenges you've had to face building IDL?
That's another good question. So I don't think it's going to be one specific challenge, but several. So one, it's going to be getting a better understanding of who I am as a person. So what are my strong skill sets versus what my weak skill sets are, and then how they integrate with a team over the course of time. I think the other aspect to that is us working as a team. So what are the strong skill sets from a team perspective, and what are the weak ones? How do we interact together? How do we handle conflict? That has been the biggest challenge, because essentially starting a startup is peeling back the onion on yourself and getting an understanding of truly like who you are, how you operate, what can you overcome versus not, and then moving forward. I think a difficult challenge is the time. So I didn't realize how long this takes, and it takes seemingly forever. The good part about our team is that we've never wanted to quit at any course of time. It's just this constant state of persistence, even though it's also a constant state of change, which is really, really good for our team. But I've also had to take that back into our family. And so my wife and I think, have sped up the process of growing together as we age in our marriage to each other, but also with our daughter. And it's helped me, I think, become a better father, a better husband. I know it's been the same for her. There's more empathy in understanding each other, I think, through operating with a startup, just because the conflict situation and how you have to change to overcome conflict or have conflict not be so difficult as it may have been before starting a startup. And then the other thing is kind of understanding that maybe what you built the first time is not the right solution, and to continue to ask questions and understand more and more about the problem, to dive as deep as possible into what the right solution is, and then gathering the resources to build out that solution. I think that's been a difficult process. I've enjoyed that process. Others may have not, but it's a good process that I think we'll be going through for the next 10 years as we continue to scale. But I think we've overcome at least 50% of that process, where we found a great technology with a lot of customers who want it, and can move forward swiftly now that we've overcome some of those key challenges.
Very cool. Thank you so much for sharing, your testimony and a little bit more insight about how it's helped you even develop personally.
Yes.
From something that you, I guess you probably originally didn't have in mind, like having to start a business, how could, it could personally affect you in so many ways. But it's really cool to hear like how it's helped you like positively, and and how there's so much persistence and so much work you have to put in, because I mean, it even looks easy to me. If I really wanted to start something, it's like, I could totally see myself in 10 years millionaire, easy. People
yes.
And people like they put so much time and effort. So it's like, it's great to hear that you're getting some results, and how you're growing on it, personally and developing. That's very cool.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that testimony and that honesty behind it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now moving on to our next question. What is a critical lesson that you have learned during your journey of entrepreneurship?
The best lesson that I have learned is, and I guess I'll tell this through a small story, but it was right when my wife and I started to first date, and we were starting this journey, not only as a relationship with her, but with IDL. I was taking improv classes at a local comedy show. Now, for me, I hate improv. I hate being unprepared. I get this level of anxiety when I'm doing various things that I haven't properly planned for. And so I've learned that experience happens every single day as a startup. And the critical lesson that I've learned is really how to deal with a constant state of change where you never know what you're going to get day to day. And so over the last 5 years and kind of understanding that, really only understanding that in the last really 3 months, I think, has helped tremendously. I think I'm still learning what that critical lesson is. But being in a constant state of uncomfortable change is kind of the lesson that I've learned within building a startup.
Thank you so much for sharing more insight. And it's important, to look back and know that you're still learning. And it's good to know that from an entrepreneur that's been at this for a long time, that you're still learning.
Thank you.
Yeah. What are Ideal's next milestones?
So we have 4 milestones in the next year that we want to achieve. 2 involve our technology and the other 2 involve revenue and investment. So for the milestones from a technological perspective, obviously we want to get our technology up and running, so production ready. We are in beta testing with a number of companies now. We're actually using the early adopter formula to really navigate the next few companies that we want to work with. And so we're in the late stages of a number of distributors who we want to work with. And now we're just picking 1 or 2 of those out. And then that will be able to help our technology really grow, which leads me into the other milestones, which is we have a certain number of customers that we think we can get for the latter half of this year and then going into 23. And then we're in the late stages of negotiations with a group of investors who we think their capital will provide, us with some ability to develop the technology further and then grow from a sales perspective. But the people that we have hopefully coming on board are really well versed, not only from an ERP perspective, but from an automation perspective, that will help us really round out our team, especially the leadership team, so that we can start scaling with new hires, with the technology, and then with sales.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those milestones and best of luck. I really hope you're able to accomplish them. And, without a doubt, with you and your team's determination, without a doubt, you guys can make it.
I believe so.
Yeah, best of luck. Thank you so much for sharing your testimony, your story of entrepreneurship, and of course your journey, and a little bit more about Ideal. We appreciate hearing about, of course, again, your testimony, but your honesty with it, your transparency. Because there's many entrepreneurs out there that are just starting their journey, or that are just starting to figure out themselves what they want to do, what they want to accomplish, and their purpose. So I think it's really helpful, the advice that you just handed off to some of us today.
Yes, definitely. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for listening in. And stay tuned for our 3rd episode to release soon. Thank you.